I am the greatest.
Hard fucking work. You put it in, you believe in it, you will succeed.
Everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you become better at your craft.
Some of the best athletes, the greatest athletes in the world, do things when they're uncomfortable.
You just have to stay calm because it's not finished to the last point, no matter how close you get. I've been working so hard all my life to be here, and I was determined to get this.
You gotta start from way down the bottom. You gotta let it grow up with you. And if you're successful and you try hard enough, you're bound to come out on top. Just like these boys have come to the top now.
All right. Nice to see you, Omar. We're actually here on Beautifully Done, and I'm super excited to have this conversation. You and I are friends, and so this is a lot easier for me because as the podcast is very new, I really wanted to reach out to people, first of all, that I'm a fan of, and doing things that I think are relevant to this, to what, the content that we're creating here and the audience that we're hoping to help and support and entertain. So basically you, Omar, I met you here in Tallinn, Estonia, where I'm currently staying. And you are a very charismatic, interesting, and highly athletic individual, we'll say. Because
flabbergasted.
Because one of the things that I completely did not do, which I'm embarrassed to say, but that you actually have been really sticking to, is there's a really cool running club here in Tallinn that you're part of. So you're religiously running every week, keep yourself healthy and fit, which is one of the things that I always recommend for folks that are entrepreneurs is pick like an athletic endeavor and do that consistently, because it makes your energy so much better. And I'm sure you can maybe talk to your running experiences, but mainly what we're going to be talking about, Omar, is a little bit about your journey. So you're fairly new in the game of entrepreneurship, we could say, which I think is perfect because most of the people I think that are going to be listening to this are going to be pretty new, if not even started yet. So love to hear what the journey's been like so far to date, and then exactly what you're doing. So instead of me saying what you're doing, why don't you just share in your own words, what are you working on right now? What are you excited about? What's being beautifully done in your world?
Emery, thank you for this nice introduction. And I feel flabbergasted by calling me athletic and charismatic and whatnot. So my name is Omar, and I come from Macedonia. It's a tiny country in the Balkans originally. And currently I'm living in Estonia, enjoying the beautiful winter here. Right now we have summer, whatnot. And the journey and whatnot started by picking actually the country. I was saying, Estonia, what's known for e-governance, for everything electronic. You have Wi-Fi in the forest. That's one of the big myths. You have Wi-Fi everywhere, and sometimes it's true, but it's not all the time true. You can't find Wi-Fi everywhere. And this was pulling me. And then I studied here for 2 years actually, and after the studies, I had the chance to work here in Tallinn, and that's where I met most of the people, you and other entrepreneurs here in Tallinn. We even organized a couple of events, which maybe later we can talk. I think through Running Club, actually, it started through YouTube, through Reddit, and it's through just reading, through Twitter. And my journey started in SMMA, social media marketing agency. So that's what I do, basically. And we can talk more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. So at SSMA, so this is if you watch YouTube or you're listening to different business models, this is a very, very popular one. And I know that there's some famous YouTube celebrities that have started with SMMA. So example would be Iman
Ghazi.
Ghazi. Thank you, Iman Ghazi. There's a few folks that I also follow. Charlie Barber in the UK. There's Lee Jen J. There's a bunch of these guys. And anyway, I am also running an agency, so I totally relate. maybe you can explain why you selected the agency or the service model for your business, because I know before this you actually, and maybe you could talk to this, you had actually a newsletter, which is also a pretty cool business model, very different obviously than running this. But what made you start this one, and also maybe what made you shift from the newsletter business to this one?
Well, like I remember as a child when I was really like into entrepreneurship. Like I think my first really entrepreneurial endeavor was working for my father. Like he had a restaurant, and he said, "Hey Omar, want to work at my restaurant?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" And initially he proposed to pay me like a daily allowance. Instead of giving me allowance, just give me like a salary. And I said, "No, father, I don't want to be paid as a salary. Could I give me the possibility all the drinks in the restaurant to be owned by me, so I can resell the drinks, like lemonades and whatnot, and orange juices?" And he was thinking, how can we, about technicalities, but I was like 11, 12. And he said, "Yeah, you can do that." And so I was doing that for my father, like just taking the juices and reselling them in his own restaurant while my father was doing the food. And I think that was there's some summertime break in Macedonia. There's like 3 months. I was doing that full time. That was my first real own money, I would say, but it was very short lived. And then when I moved to Estonia, I think later with the newsletter that you mentioned, actually that was coincidence. I just felt like I'm good at writing. I love writing, and I love like concise writing. And it was a newsletter about AI, because also the AI wave started, especially the ChatGPT wave started. And I said, let's make a AI and me, something like giving basically instructions, how to use AI, how to make prompts, how to generate like pictures. And I made this small newsletter. I got like a couple like thousand like subscribers, and then I sold it on Fiverr. So that's what my first ever like also business sold. And for you, yeah, I actually did a Flippa. I was trying to sell it on Fiverr as well, but Flippa is where I sold my website. That was a mistake. So yeah.
Oh yes, I was gonna say I didn't realize Fiverr did.
Flippa. So Flippa.
Yeah.
Flippa.com.
Yeah.
So yeah, not Fiverr. And basically after that, having a couple money from that, I said, you know what? I need my next new challenge, which is not that saturated. I said, because I don't know, for the AI newsletter industry seemed to me, at least for me, a bit oversaturated, especially if you go on Twitter, e-com, like entrepreneurial Twitter, and you can see that everybody has starting a newsletter. And it felt a bit like competitive. You have to do daily instead of weekly, because my format was more weekly. And then in the running club, talking of friends, in the running club, there was this lawyer from LA. And he basically said, "Hey, I need a website for association." And I said, "Yeah, I can do that. I can help you with that." And that's the whole thing. And I just made and sold a website for him. I partially did it my own, partially I had some friends helping me. And then I sold the website to him. Then he's helping me getting more clients. Basically, also my agencies in the law firm niche, and lawyers and attorneys, like private practitioners, building websites, like finding call takers if possible, some of them need, and also running ads. This is more like what I do for lawyers. So I'm willing to. The goal is to help them generate more business. I'm assuming, right? And or is there a different goal for? Is it more for branding, or what's the value? Like, I mean, I understand the different types of services, but how are you pitching them? What are you telling them that you're sort of like, if they get a website through you or they do ads through you, is it that they're just going to increase their business, or something else? More or less, it's like ads / also SEO. So they will hopefully, I say long-term, short-term strategy. We start initially both at the same time, writing content, and some of like friends or people I know from Estonia who have a background in law, they will write the articles. And SEO with full staff with keywords and whatnot, very professional done. And also making the ads way cheaper, because I think when you just check the cost per click on a PPC, like in Google Ads, you see how expensive they are, like all those ads. And I'm pitching them 30% to 40% like cheaper, like keywords. Okay. So that's my whole pitch when I make
cost savings.
Yeah, cost. Because that can be like 30% for them can be a lot. On average, they tend to spend like 10K, 20K, like some, let's say if a law firm has like 5 people working for them, 5 lawyers, it's like not that large, because some large companies, they have like 100 attorneys employed. and I'm trying to learn, especially immigration lawyers and let's call it like accident lawyers, car crashes and whatnot.
Okay, so you're basically focusing on a broad spectrum of lawyers, like different industry types of lawyers, or is it like only a couple of niches?
I would say mostly immigration as well. Like I can like honestly talk, like we have like 3 lawyers now, 3 clients, and 2 of them are immigration, and one we started with website. We're keeping with website, but I'm trying to pitch him also to move now to do for them the ads. It's like an incident, like accident.
I love this. I love this, Omar, and I'm asking you a lot of these questions because this is really most people end up talking to or interviewing folks once they're like way further along, and so the idea is that they already have like, you know, all of this stuff figured out. And what's really cool, you and I can both agree, is that when we're starting, there's a lot of stuff we're figuring out as we go, like based on early customers we get, based on like, you know, what's working for us, what's not working for us. So this is actually, to me, very interesting because I think a lot of people think, you know, when they see a successful entrepreneur, they're like, how come I'm not as clear on how to start my business as this person here that I'm looking up to? But honestly, we all start the same way. A lot of times you're sort of figuring it out as you go. And I mean, you picked a good niche, which I mean, lawyers in general, and you could actually even go hyper niche, which is like immigration lawyers. But it sounds like you might be doing a little bit of sort of figuring it out by basically, I mean, again, I'm just assuming just based on the way you're answering these questions, you might be kind of like, I call it like tacking, you know, like in a boat, you know, you're sort of tacking. So you're kind of going towards, you know, immigration, but, you know, let's see, if there's other lawyers that want to work with me, maybe I'll test them out too and see which ones I like better. Am I right in saying that? Or is there a different strategy you have to decide on which niche?
I think, you're spot on. Like figuring out and like, if I can say, you just fool around a bit, check what's working, and because also how I found the clients is through my friends. So I say, hey, you need a service, I can do that, and referrals, and that worked way. And also there was actually, I was watching a speech from Sam Altman that he was saying you should dominate the small niche. And if you see, I see that immigration lawyers, and both of them, like all 3 of them are either California, LA, or like Austin, Texas. So I'm trying to keep like one city or a couple cities, and focus more on immigration. I think I will keep some edges, immigration, but also figuring out why not. Because at the end of the day, the branding that I do for my agency is law firms. So in general, so
that's great.
Because I'm already niched down. Like but I'm already niched down pretty good. Like lawyers, then that will be micro niching if you got just way down and down. But
absolutely. And I apologize because ever so often what I normally do in these conversations is I'll actually like pause for a second and I'll like highlight something you said, because I think it's like, to me, it like really stands out. And I think that the audience could maybe, you know, sort of understand it from like my perspective. So one of the things that you just said, which I think is actually really important, in my opinion, from my experience as an entrepreneur, in the beginning, is you want to give yourself permission to do some experimentation. Like you said, you're going to sort of mess around a little bit, figure things out. But you also kind of want to have a guess as to where, you know, you think things are going to go. And so picking a niche, I think, is really good, but give yourself permission to maybe modify it slightly if you see that, hey, this is, you know, like let's say, for example, you had like, you know, 3 immigration lawyers because they were referred to you, but then all of a sudden you end up scoring through cold outreach or whatever, you end up scoring like a corporate lawyer who does business law. And all of a sudden that person has like, you know, I'm just making this up, but that person has way more money. They're even easier to work with because they're asking you for even more things that you love doing. Then you could say, oh, you know what? I'm still going to do immigration, but you know, now I'm going to like focus on business law because that's just a better niche for me. And you just sort of modify it slightly because it's still it's kind of in the same general area. You're still serving lawyers. And so I think that these are things that we should give ourselves permission to do, in my opinion, in the beginning. Don't get too solidified in your niche when you're starting, because yes, you want to be a big fish in a small pond, but unless you know exactly, like you've done this before, it's hard to sometimes figure out which niche is going to be the absolute best for you as a starting business, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But from my experience, when I actually initially was thinking about pondering, maybe you can help with that. The advice if I could give to other people is just don't go broad. Maybe avoid that. Maybe have a niche.
Yeah.
That will be the opposite of my strategy.
Like you're
Don't go
not
too broad.
saying that I'm helping all businesses save money on their ads. One of the other things that you talked about is, in my opinion, there's like sort of, if you want to sell a service, there's two services that kind of guarantee that you're going to get interest, in my opinion. Again, whenever I say these things, I always want to highlight my opinion because somebody else might disagree. But this is my experience, is that the two things that everybody could sell pretty easily to almost any business owner. Again, this is B2B, not B2C, like business and consumer, but B2B is, I'm going to make you more money or I'm going to save you money. If you sell either of those things, business owners want that. I want to save money or want to make money. So one of the things I asked you in the beginning was, what are you selling them? Are you selling, because you're not selling them ads, like they're doing ads anyway, but you're selling them save money. I would actually argue, and again, this is free advice. I'm not pretending that, you're doing anything wrong, but I would almost argue that the better value for you may actually be, I'm going to make you more money than to save you money. Because if a lawyer is spending $10,000 and you could say, I'm going to make you double, from spending the same amount on ads, I'm going to make you double like the customers, versus I'm going to let you spend less. Like I'm going to let you spend now 7,000 instead of 10,000. It's almost like they're investing anyway. They want to invest to get a return on investment. So I would almost argue, if it was me and you said, okay, I'm going to make you double the amount, or I'm going to save you half the amount, I'm going to take double the amount, because my goal is to like use the ads to make way more money, not to really save money on the ads, because I'm already spending them anyway. Like I already have in my head, I'm budgeting $10,000. So you coming in and saying, I'm going to save you, $3,000, and now you're only spending $7,000 to make the same amount of business. That's cool. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually like still cool, but that really only caters to somebody who's like really cheap. And if somebody else came along and said, hey, look, I want you to still keep spending $10,000, but instead of you now making 100,000 from that, you're going to make 200,000 from that. They actually made way more than the 3,000 that you saved them, right? So you know what I mean? So it's like this is all psychology, but and the reason I'm sharing this, not really even for you, but just for the listener, is really think about your offer, because it's actually, I think we're sort of building a workshop on the fly here together, but the idea is like your offer is really important, and understand that, like I said, you're either saving the money or you're making the money. And if you can make them more money, oftentimes that's a better offer than saving the money, because saving the money, there's always somebody that can come in cheaper, like they can always find somebody that's going to, be cheaper. But if you can say, hey, I'm going to make you way more, that may be a better offer. And I'm not arguing that you have a bad offer. I'm just saying that these are things to think about.
Yeah, basically what I think we agree is at the end of the day, problem solver also like growing. Like, there was actually good. Alex Hormozzi was saying, he loves saying in his YouTube, like, or wherever you watch him, or also in the book, that build your grand slam offer, have your grand slam offer. So the client, could feel really stupid if he refuses your offer. He says, why should I refuse it? It's no brainer. And in my case, it's like, especially with friends, I say, hey, this is my past performance. This is what I've done. How we can outrank all other like competitors. And especially in the searches, when I was in a car crash and like somebody needs their service for the immigration lawyers, they'll usually use Google, and they'll usually pick the top 3 options. My whole goal is like, we want yours law firm to be in the top 3. Finito. Like, it's like perfect. So yeah, I think work on your offer is an ongoing process. That's also one of the takes. Like, offers might change, needs might change, and you should be always up to date. Maybe in the future, I'm thinking of maybe adding a bit more AI into this like mix, this pot, like, because I think AI, if you use this is like probably like a cheat code, but if you use AI on your offer, there's an instant like, wow, curiosity. Like people think, what is AI? It's like a buzzword, like can generate more sales.
It's a buzzword, but for a lot of traditional industries, they're not using AI yet. And even though you and I spend a lot of time on YouTube, so we see AI everywhere, and it's like everybody's selling AI. But really, honestly, for like a lawyer, they probably are not using AI at all. If at all, right? Maybe they played around a little bit with ChatGPT or something, but barely anything, right? That's a really good insight, or a really good point.
Yeah. Work on your offer all the time.
Awesome.
Like every 2-3 months, just keep improving. Like especially if you're like in the beginning of the 6 month and building the team. I think that's something I'm working. And next thing,
Yes.
actually, we can maybe talk as apart from offering, the idea of like hiring probably, or building your team. That's something that I'm working, because I tend to give work to my friends or to some previous colleagues that have been working. So I maybe the idea is, should you have hire in-house designers, in-house builders or writers, or outside? So that's also something that I keep pondering recently, like how to work.
Oh, that's a really good.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when you're starting a business, the hardest thing is, number one, deciding when and how to hire. When to make that investment, and then number two is finding those folks once you've decided that you want to get them. So maybe you can walk us through how you've approached your hiring strategy.
Like initially, just through like I would post on Instagram, because all my friends like live or work in Estonia, and anyone who studied or is working in Tallinn especially, they are either the one like creme de la creme of developers or coders, and I will need somebody like most of the time like front-end developers, like somebody who can do that. And I would say, hey guys, I need a front-end developer quickly for a small task, because I myself can't like design a website, and they will reply, some of my friends. That was in my initial phase, but I want to make it more like professional. Next, I'm thinking how to create and hire in-house A players, or maybe outsource it. Like that will be another option, like finding like like another team who can help me build like better products. That will be like, especially when it comes to website development, because running ads, I have been doing that almost on my own, like running the ads.
So that's the foundation, I'm assuming, is the ads are like sort of the bread and butter, and then everything else is a bonus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So one of the advantages, I mean, for folks that don't know too much about Tallinn or Estonia is, as you mentioned, we're like in Eastern Europe, if you don't know, and it's right on the border of like Finland and Russia, funny enough. And so there is an incredible amount of technical talent here. As Omar mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, which is one of the reasons I came down as well, is because the entrepreneur community here is very thriving, but it's also very, very technical. Like the whole country is very like digitally forward. In fact, everything's sort of run through an online digital platform, so you can kind of like use your digital ID, which they have here. Every citizen has one, and even oftentimes when you're new, you also get a cited ID. And you can use that to like log in and pay for things and all sorts of fun stuff. It's integrated with your bank and stuff. But my point is that having a rich pool of talent in Estonia is really a huge advantage. And the cost here is way less expensive than other English-speaking countries. Like Estonia at this point is very English-speaking, and so you can find like a very high-quality English-speaking, engineer. That would normally be in maybe like another country, like in Western Europe or in North America, where I'm from. They would be 3, 4, 5 times more expensive for that same talent, right? So, as Omar mentioned, like if you are looking to hire, and you wanted to build a team that's more global, or you wanted to kind of come somewhere to build a team, both Omar and I have been very impressed with like the talent here in Estonia. So. Something to keep in mind if you're a nomad, or you're sort of thinking about building a business in a new country.
I think this is also, I have to add, I totally agree with you. So with the talent pool come here, but also another thing is what's really important for an entrepreneur is like, what's your information diet, and what's the type of group of people you keep hanging around. And no matter where you are, even if you don't want to hire no one here, just come and change your ambience, your environment. I think that, because I don't know, whenever I meet like some like those events that happen here in Tallinn, I feel like everybody's so ambitious, so hungry, like for something more.
Yeah.
And that probably wakes up your inner like fighting spirit. Like, I want to fight, I want to compete. I think I honestly change the environment, because then you hang around people who see, oh, they can do that. It's something else. You don't have like it's. You and I, with the group of people that we hang around, there are very few of them who have like a 9-to-5 job. Most of them have a small plugin, WordPress plugin, a smart or a small like app in like Google Play or a small block, and you say, "Oh, that's really cool. That's nice." So some like change in your like ambience. That I would highly recommend that. And I think it's also very important for an entrepreneur. If you want to start your entrepreneurial journey, initially my idea would be start with monk mode, and maybe also hang out, like travel and hang out with like very competitive people. That's like my recipe. I think
I love that.
It has been yeah.
Those are brilliant suggestions. Thanks for mentioning a couple of things there that I want to highlight that you mentioned. So, number one, yeah, absolutely. The environment you're around has a massive, I agree 1,000% with you, Omar. Your environment has a massive like impact on like your behavior. In fact, so I closed down a business recently last year, at the end of last year. And one of the things I did coming to Estonia was I wanted to be in a new environment. You know, coming from North America, I wanted to kind of, you know, be in a different environment right now and build something with like sort of fresh, you know, canvas, right? And being in Estonia has actually been really, really beneficial. Now, I actually was in Estonia when I had my previous business. So I was here last year and the year before, briefly the year before, and then last year a bit as well, while I was winding down that business. But I still had it in my mind that I was going to stay here to kind of build, you know, a new company with a fresh start and stuff like that. And so I agree with you. One of the things, I actually have a friend that just is visiting right now from California. So he's up here as well, and he's American. He wants to immigrate to Estonia because he's actually traveled a lot of different places in the world. And one of the things he loves about here is it's similar to, you know, it's similar to the US in how ambitious people are. And a lot of places in Europe, honestly, are not like that. Like a lot of times Europe is a beautiful place to live, but in terms of level of like entrepreneurial ambition, if you go to many other countries, maybe you mentioned Macedonia. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know about that because I haven't been there, but it's like people are a little bit less motivated and entrepreneurial. Like they still, you know, they still might have a business, but just the conversations are different, right? They're just not the same level of ambition, right? And so this is a really good point you made. And then I want you to talk about monk mode briefly after this. But yeah, Len, what do you think about you know, your experience with Macedonia versus here or other places you've been?
Well, I would say I have been traveled a bit like around Europe, but mostly I've lived in Germany, Macedonia, and Estonia. So these three countries, I think I tend to know them pretty well. And Germany and Macedonia, they tend to, the mentality of young people, especially let's say millennials, like 25 to like 35 something, you should work for the state, you should have a secure job. Don't be crazy, don't be fool, and the usual like timeline: get married, have children, and I probably it's bad to say they love this. Oh, they go to a pizza party, drink till 6 a.m. That's kind of the mentality. And Europe is a great place to spend money. I would say that's my keyword. If you have money, you're 60, you're waiting your pension, you want to rest. Europe is fantastic. Like I would suggest to Portugal. I was there like for like 2-3 weeks. I was staying there. Amazing place. But Estonia is different. I think the difference between Eastern Europe, especially Estonia, and like Western Europe, is that that people tend to be here younger, and they have unfortunate history because they tend to be also poor when it comes because it's a former Soviet country, and they're hungry and poor. So I think that's the biggest motivator. And I would say top 3, it's the most hungriest people in Europe. There's no doubt about that. I think the tech scene is happening here. Like
amazing.
It's the place to be. Even like, for example, in all in podcast, this is important. I cannot stress enough the importance of having like surrounding us. Even in Chamat, in all in podcast, he said that you should go where you should move to a place where the A players are. Like he was mentioned that for US, you just move to San Francisco. Like go there, hang out, and although, of course, internet is nice, you can meet people like from distance, but I still believe you should hang out where the A players are. And the other thing is in Guru, the importance of Gurus. I'm telling you now recently about the monk mode. We can talk about the monk mode, but it's nice when you have online information, but I think that's very general. Like, oh, there's 10 courses and they're made for a wider audience. But like you have been my mentor in couple of occasions and helped me how should I like proceed and whatnot. I think the importance of mentors. And if you move to a city where you can like by serendipity meet people, that will be nice. You get the perfect mentor. That's my
Yeah, that's a great point. I've done a fair bit of traveling myself as well, Omar, and I started one of my first sort of major businesses. I started from Toronto, Canada, where I was living, and we ended up needing to raise money, and we raised our first smaller round in Canada, in Toronto, and just outside of Toronto, and then we were running low on money, and we needed to raise another round, and we decided that we wanted to be more ambitious with, the size of, the opportunity, and we ended up going into the US, and I spent a lot of time actually in. It was a media company, so I was spending some time in LA, but I was also spending time in San Francisco. And the difference between the mentality coming from like Toronto, which Canada is a pretty conservative country, and Toronto is probably the least conservative of, it's still very, very sort of forward compared to a lot of other places in Canada. But even still, like the difference between the ideology of the average investor or even the average individual when you talk about entrepreneurship in there, including entrepreneurs, is night and day difference than like what you will see in like a place like San Francisco. It was crazy, like to me, it blew my mind like wide open, where I was like, wow, like I thought I was thinking big. And then you meet somebody who's like, like they're thinking like 10x or 100x bigger than you are even, right? And you're like, oh my God, like this is crazy, and it's not just one, it's like almost everybody you meet is like, it's very common, right? And so definitely can't agree with you more. Picking the right place. Obviously, you could travel to these places. You don't have to live there indefinitely. You can travel there just to kind of build up a network so that you could, start to, go other places and be able to, remotely coordinate that. But if you have an opportunity, you could also just go and live somewhere where, like, right now, we're both living in Estonia. And the huge advantages, right? Because it's so much easier. You can go grab a coffee with somebody. Scheduling a Zoom call is obviously not as attractive as just saying, hey, why don't we just go we're already here in the same office area, we're in the same co-working space. Let's go grab like a drink, at the restaurant across the street or whatever, right? So anyway, I
love it. I love it. I love it, and I couldn't agree more about this, like the comparison between like Canada and like US or Europe and US. Yeah. I remember when I used to be younger, I used to think that Europe is way better than US. That was my bias. I said Europe is cultured, civilized, and in US they just risk too much. The attitude towards risk. I think they're crazy. But the older I get, the more I understand about business and how life in general works. I know I switched the opposite. I think Europe is like slow, and they keep not like almost sleeping. I don't want to use the word lazy, but they have a tendency to be known as lazy and like taking things slow. And now I'm falling more and more in love with a risk attitude. And my favorite keyword, or word that I love, is risk. I'm loving the sentence risk. I'm not afraid of risk. And I think risk, probably I should tattoo risk somewhere. I think people should have a better relationship with risk and try stuff. And it's so cheap. I think it's so cheap to do a startup. It has never been so easy to start a startup and not lose. Like, imagine our grandparents, they had to open a store, they had to buy all the material, like go in a loan, sell like a land. And no, you don't even have to take a loan to start like e-commerce brand or whatnot, or like a newsletter.
Yeah. That's a great point. I love you say that, like, it's funny, like certain words I think are triggers for people, and people are like, oh, risk is bad, or even I've even heard entrepreneurs say, like, I don't take risk, everything is intelligent risk, but like even intelligent risk is still risk, like it's still. But it's funny because I've been actually saying for many years that it's actually, to me, it's riskier to have a job than it is to start your own business.
Yeah. And
I've been saying that because, like, once you know how to start a job, it's like you control your destiny completely. Like, you control how hard you work, you control how much money you make, theoretically, like, obviously, if you know somewhat what you're doing, you could decide to work harder or higher or scale up, change your margins, change your pricing, all that. When you have a job, you have to go, get approval from your boss. Like, you have to basically, what if they want to lay people off? Maybe you get laid off. You have no control over that. So there's like all of these risks that I think we don't talk about on the other side of the fence, right? And one of the things you mentioned with Europe is, I think the word you use is sleep. I would actually say sleepwalking. Sometimes it feels like they're sleepwalking, which they're not completely asleep, but they're kind of sleepwalking of it, right? And Canada is very similar to that in some respects, right? Where people are just a little slow. And like you said, people in the US are much more aggressive and ambitious. I like, you actually mentioned this at the beginning of our conversation, and I actually use that a lot as well, is I say, you want to make money? You make your money in America and you spend it in Europe. Like, make it in America, spend it in Europe, right? Because Europe is an amazing place to live, and like the lifestyle. And I would put Estonia as more like, you could maybe use this as more on the other side. It's almost like America. Like, you can make your money here and then go spend it other places. But anyway, it's funny that you mentioned that. Anyway, I've been rambling here with you on that one thing, but I think it's a really interesting insight. Yeah.
No, I love it. And the idea about the risk about it's way more risky to work to have a normal job. It's not that I guess both of us, it's not that we make fun of 9-to-5 people who have a 9-to-5 job. It's with all due respect. But there was certain times that I had a 9-to-5 job. I was even working at McDonald's at some point in my life when I was 16, 17. So
me too. Yeah. I was 14 when I was working at McDonald's, actually. Quite funny. Yeah. They hire you young there.
I think every great entrepreneur has a McDonald's story. I think even Jeff Bezos, I'm like,
yeah. But good old McDonald's.
I love it. But the idea about this, like hating the job, I remember the story is I was watching all the other people who were working there, and the company was having great pride in people who was working like for 10 to 20 years. They were giving these awards. Oh, you worked 20 years here, 30 years here. And unfortunately, I was just seeing all the colleagues, with all the respect, I was seeing all the colleagues, oh, that guy or that lady, she works 20 years, 10 years in this company. Don't want to be like that person. It sounds very bad. And I said, no, I don't want to. I want more risk. I want it different. This was my projection. And actually, recently, I'm starting to believe because I have to mention this, I started my agency in November 2023. So like 6-7 months ago. And now we are in May. So, and I think the monk mode and the vision is, I was working, I said, I don't want to be like those people. Like I like this 10 years, 20 years and just coming to job, hating the job, doing Taco Tuesday or whatever people tend to do in the office. And I said, no, I want to change it. The manifestation, we can talk also about monk mode if you want, but also manifestation. I want to add that as well. Like for me, it has been really important manifestation. If I can add manifestation, surrounding with the most important thing. I think surrounding people and information diet. This like 2, 3, if I have to rank them. Manifest, I would always see myself, okay, I will be this place. I will have my own company. I always, like, since I was like 16, 17, like, I want to be this. This is how I see it. This are the criteria what should happen. At the monk mode, I want to add that it's pretty easy if you're in Estonia. It's like, nobody has here to like party all the time, and everybody's working onto something. And that's, and also winter, which is, winter helps you do the monk mode. You can't go outside. It's -20, -30. I know everything freezes, like the pipes in the house, everything freezes. So it was so easy, just go monk mode from November till January. Like I was like going kamikaze mode, and I love it. I love the kamikaze mode. Like you go do the calls, like do 1,000 cold calls, improve your script, improve your offer, and keep it rolling.
Wow, I haven't heard that term used that way before. Kamikaze mode. I hope you didn't die at the end of one of your sessions.
No, I mean, actually, maybe I need to change it. Maybe I need to change it. Kamikaze, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah. But
no, it's the analogy I'm picturing is running your plane into an aircraft carrier, and I'm like, wow, that's intense. But
sorry, but the idea is don't do half ass. Don't do it like half. You should go full heart on that. That's my shtick philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. That's great. So just to explain to people that haven't heard that term before, you mentioned monk mode. Would you want to explain, or do you want me to explain to people?
I think maybe you can explain it, because for me, monk mode, how I would understand my terms is just completely isolating yourself. Like delete Instagram. I never use TikTok. Instagram is I started when I was younger. Delete all the social media. The only people you are allowed to meet or talk is parents, and the shopkeeper probably, and that's all. And maybe the landlord or something. And even the friends, you can tell them politely, all your friends, hey guys, I love you so much. But the next 6 months, 3 months, depending on time, you go locked in and do the maximum. Like Elon Musk would say, 100 hours per week, even more.
Awesome.
So this was my monk mode. That was my monk mode.
Yeah, and I love that you said it's my monk mode. If you're listening to this, if you're listening to this, obviously you're listening to this. I don't need to say that. But if you're listening to this, if you go on my YouTube channel, I actually do a deep dive on monk mode because I'm a big fan of it. And I spend a lot of time talking about like nuances, but basically, so it's at Emery Bishop, on YouTube or whatever. But basically, the way that I like to describe monk mode is there's actually many different versions of it, so there's many different ways that you can approach it. But Omar, you explained it, I think, really well, which is that it's this idea that you're essentially limiting or forgoing certain quote unquote pleasures or distractions even, so that you can focus your energy on a daily basis in a very, very concerted effort to get a lot of stuff done that normally would take you much longer to do. So it's like an intense focus, and you're intentionally forgoing certain activities, pleasures, habits that you normally would take on. So you can actually design your monk mode, and you can pick the things that you want to remove. But for example, maybe you're removing drinking, maybe you're removing partying, maybe you're removing, lots of snacks, binge watching, Netflix, whatever it is, but you're picking some things to take off your plate, and you're replacing those with quote unquote healthier or more productive habits, so that you can actually get things done. And you can actually do monk mode for several days. You can do it for several weeks, whatever, you want to pick. It's a great way to kind of frame things for yourself so that you can actually give yourself permission to be a little bit tougher on yourself and a little bit more disciplined. And so, I love it. There's a version of it, which you can call extreme monk mode, which is a whole other ballgame. And again, go to my YouTube channel where you can learn all about extreme monk mode, because that's what I'm actually going to be, doing multiple challenges of. But the idea is, you want to take advantage of time is so precious and momentum is so important when you're an entrepreneur, especially when you're starting out. So if you can kickstart yourself by going into like some sort of framework like this, where, maybe you're used to doing things a certain way, and all of a sudden now you're an entrepreneur and you're like, oh man, like, what do I need to do here? There's so many things I need to learn. I'm like on this like massive, sort of like hill that I'm trying to climb. Well, you want to give yourself every advantage to get to the top of that hill. And one of the things you can do is enter monk mode, and that all of a sudden will give you the extra energy, the extra focus, the extra discipline that you need, because it's sort of part of the process, the framework. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. When was the last time you did a monk mode? Like, how do you do your own monk modes? Like, how do you limit? How do you structure it?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So, I've done monk mode a couple of times in my life. I've actually probably started doing it before I even knew it was a term. Like, because I've always been like, I've been into martial arts. I've been into, different sort of, I guess, disciplines over my life, and I've also been pretty good at like forgoing, short-term gratification when I need to. So like I've been able to kind of, isolate myself away from like, friends and certain activities naturally. Like I've quit drinking. I've done like longer-term water fasts and different things that are pretty hard for people. But they're hard for me too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not pretending that, I have some sort of special gift with this stuff. But the idea is that, when you want it bad enough, you can actually like force yourself, because like, you want the outcome more than you want the actual short-term reward. And that's the whole thing, is you just think you're reminding yourself, I want this outcome more. And part of it is like just reminding yourself as you're starting to like do these things. But I would say like officially the last time I did monk mode was probably a couple of months ago. I don't remember the exact date, but it was during the winter time. And it was probably, you know what it was? It was right after basically the holidays. So it was like we went through Christmas. I decided not to go home for Christmas. Or for the holidays, I stayed in Estonia. And so it's like the top of the winter, and we had like New Year's. I think I went out for New Year's. We had a party at the office and stuff too. And then I basically, ate a bunch of stuff that I wasn't really crazy about. And then I just shut down my whole business, and I was starting my new one. So I actually went through about, I think it was like a full 7 days where I basically went to monk mode to kind of kickstart my whole, like, I kind of isolated myself from everything. just so that I could focus all my energy on like figuring out what my new business was. And I actually had an amazing week. I was super creative. I came up with like a whole vision plan, vision board. I had like my new projects that I wanted to work on. I sort of mapped up my whole 2024 over that, like, I think it was like the first and second week of January. So that was my last month. But I'm actually going to do another one again next week, funny enough. So I'm actually leaving Estonia at the end of May, and then in June I'm going to be in Canada and going to the US to live there for a little bit. And I wanted to kind of reset, like I wanted to reset myself and prepare for, leaving Estonia. And I wanted to kind of go out with a bang. So I wanted to be really productive my last week here. And so I want to be like this week, there's some things I'm doing that, more social. But next week, I want to actually just be like heads down, get as much stuff done as possible. And so I'm actually going to do like an extreme month mode and record, my progress for the podcast, for my channel and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Very impressive because, I remember actually during the change of the year, during Christmas, something I asked you about like New Year resolutions. You said that you had like 24 goals for 2024, which I think really
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still pretty much on that track. Like, so they're actually probably arguably less, arguably more, depending on like the number is no longer 24. It's just like, there's a lot of projects that I'm working on. And I'm going the opposite of what people tell you to do, which is like the focus. Like I'm actually doing intentionally, so first of all, I decided to get into media this year, so big part of what I'm doing is working on my personal brand. And so content's really important for that. And so because I'm super curious about a bunch of different things, I'm actually using that as an excuse because I'm like, even if like, it seems like I'm being distracted, by all these different things, it's like, it makes for great content because I can like kind of share what I'm learning and, people won't get bored because it's not like, this guy's working on the same one project for the next year and I'm just following him on that journey. It's like, no, he's working on like 30 different things and some of them are failing, some of them are succeeding, but he's learning really, really rapidly through all of these different types of projects. And so I realized that I can actually, take advantage of the fact that I do want to like learn all these different things. And then the other thing you do, here's like a little trick about this whole idea of, because again, I just brought it up, so I want to mention to other people. I'm not suggesting for entrepreneurs to like not focus. I think focus is really good. But for me, the focus is on actually learning, not on the outcomes. And so for me right now, if I fail in a business, I've already won because the game I'm playing is to learn rapidly and like really play with a whole bunch of different tools. So it's almost like I'm giving myself permission for 2024 to make as many mistakes as possible, but like really kind of understand and like dig into a bunch of things. So I'm learning new like tools, new software. I'm deep diving on AI. I'm like starting different business models that I've never done before. I'm like working on physical stuff as well as digital stuff and comparing all the differences in services. And so I'm going to have this really amazing like learning curve that next year, if I want to focus back down, I could be like, okay, I got that into my system. It's kind of like traveling. It's like, imagine traveling for a whole year and you see all these different countries. And then you say the next year, you're like, you know what? Out of all those countries, I'm going to go back and live in this one country that was like the best. I can do that next year. Or maybe I'm like, no, I want to go another year of like, running around because as long as I can pay my bills, what's stopping me, right? So, yeah.
No, I remember, I don't know if I learned this from you or someone else. It's for new starters, I think I would suggest that they go on monk mode, the one thing. Yeah, sure. For new starters. But I think you being more senior, having this like 10 or 20 years of experience, way more experience than... So I think you have a lot of experience in this niche, like no one else.
Yeah.
And so definitely you can do it and you can manage it because you have this systemization, your own schedule.
Yeah.
But definitely for newcomers, set your goals and
I
do
agree.
it.
Yeah.
Especially
and so for me, I've actually been fighting my personality has always been that I've always been like very quote unquote distracted because and they talk about shiny object syndrome. If that's a thing that I have that like I have a gene where I have that like on like level 10, on max level. So it's very easy for me, so one of our favorite podcasts that you and I share is My First Million, shout out to My First Million. But one of the things I love about that podcast is like every time I listen to a new episode, I'm like, oh, I want to do that business, right? And it's like every time it's like a new business that they bring up, I'm like, I want to do that now, and it's like I have to like, it's almost like impulse control. I have to be like, no, I got other things I need to work on right now. But it's like, oh, everything sounds so interesting, right? And it's not that I don't like what I'm currently doing. It's just I find it all interesting, right? And so like getting back to sort of what I've mentioned is, yes, I started off with focus. So there's a lot of times where I've only been working on one thing at a time. But now I'm at a point where I've had, a bit of success in a few things. I've had obviously some failures, but I'm like at the point where I'm here for the experience, and I definitely don't want everything that I'm working on to be a failure. So I do have financial goals, and if I'm not meeting them, then I do give myself permission to stop what I'm doing and just focus all in on one thing, right? So if like, say for example, like I'm 3 months from now, I'm not making any money on anything. Well, yeah, I'm not going to keep doing that because it's stupid. Like, but what I am going to do is if I am making money on multiple different things, even if it's like, it's like one of the guys that I'm a big fan of is Peter Levels. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Peter Levels. Yeah. He's like a very popular maker who does like a whole bunch of different nomad businesses. And he did like a little chart where he shared like, he started like 100 some odd businesses, and he has about right now, because he has a following, he's got like, an audience that actually helps him create all these new businesses, because when he builds something new, he normally has people that are going to try it right away. But he has, I think now probably 6 or 7 that are on his list that are all making, multiple 5, 6, 7 figures. And so that's like kind of like my dream as well is if I had a choice between having one business that's making, most people would say I'd rather have one business that's making like $1 million a month than having, 5 businesses that are making, 100,000 each, because that's only 500,000. I'm actually, I would rather have the 5 businesses making 100,000 each, which is crazy, but because I would love to have those experiences. Like I'm really all about the experiences. So the monotony of having, because I've been there where I've had like a business that's like just, sort of doing really well in cash flow, but it's like rinse and repeat every day. I'm just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. I was bored out of my mind because I'm like, no, I want to learn something new. But here's the trick. If you are like what I'm talking about, if you are trying to do like multiple things, you should have a plan in order to get yourself out of the way when those businesses need somebody better than you to scale them up and to make them focused, right? Because my whole plan is once you have, a business at a point where you're starting to get distracted with other things, you should bring an operator in to take over that business. And that's my new plan. So I'm kind of building my businesses that way, where I'm always on the hunt for like an amazing operator, because when my businesses can afford that person and attract them, and that's why, building your personal brand, I think is important, because now you can start to attract people inbound and they can reach out to you. Like I right now get like a few people every week reach out to me to say, I'm looking for an opportunity, but that will become more and more important as I'm starting to build these projects, because then it's like, hey, you know what do you do? Oh, why don't you, try being a general manager for this project? If you love it, then why don't you take some ownership in it, and they can have equity in that project and stuff. So anyway, that's a whole other story. And this isn't about me, but I just wanted to kind of share that. Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing, because I couldn't, I agree on so many points, especially what's insight for me, and what I try to do is the importance of time, the importance of learning, having a rich spirit. And yeah, you don't want to live a life where you just know one trick. You don't want to be the horse with one trick, I think. And recently, whenever I send an email, I try to sign them with life is great or life is rich. I'm trying to sign, because not rich in a monetary sense, but rich in a like a spiritual sense. Like you should experience so many stuff. Like, life is rich. And you do that. Like I think even those businesses they fail, you learn. Your spirits get more bigger. You meet awesome people, and there is. I love a saying from Elon Musk. Like I know people like to trash on Elon. I think he's a national treasure, and one of his quotes was that the time is the true crypto. Like time is the true value, is the true crypto, and the importance of people. You said the operators. Like I love high quality like people, high quality man, woman, like just operators, killers. Like that's the thing. Yeah, but I guess but as a young like me, I want to scale my business, Now it's like at a 10K like monthly with the clients. But if I go like 20, 30 or 100K like you mentioned, probably then I will hire some operator. That's my goal, or like restructure my whole agency. And that's how I think to move forward. And what do you think? Or
Awesome.
do you have any questions?
I love it, Omar. No, thank you for sharing. I do. So we're getting close to the end here. So I have a couple of rapid fire questions I want to ask you. And this is again for the thinking for the early entrepreneur that's just starting out. What are some of the what are like the top, let's say you're on a desert island. I like to say you're on a desert island and you have your Wi-Fi, you've got your food, your water, your shelter, all that stuff. And you got a computer, but the computer doesn't have very many apps on it. But you're allowed to put 3 apps or 3, key websites that you're always going to use that you're logged into, whatever. 3 services beyond obviously social media stuff. Yeah, email and social media, whatever. You've got a Chrome browser, so you can kind of, look around or whatever. But what are the 3 apps you're signed up for that you're maybe paying for that you're using every day? What are those 3 apps or tools? They don't have to be actually software. It could be hardware as well. But what are 3 things that you're bringing with you, in addition to your laptop as an entrepreneur?
Well, the apps, definitely I would choose 2, like Adobe and Go High Level, like the Adobe Suite and like Go High Level. And that's how nice. I like to run my agency with like Adobe Suite. You can do so many things like Illustrator or Photoshop or whatnot. And obviously I think email is for me, but that's included in the thing. Let me think about the 3rd app or the 3rd thing. I know a phone, I think, like reaching out to like people. Okay, that's also included, but a gym set.
Skype or whatever,
yeah. But also a gym set. Like I'm a big fanatic now of a gym because
nice.
I want to keep I want to keep the health part there and Adobe and Go High Level. And I think to run an agency, you don't need much stuff like phone calling, like call through Skype or like your landline.
Go High Level as well.
Go High Level and Adobe. I think that's my 3 apps 3 things that I will want.
Well, go ahead, let me on this podcast because the previous guests that mentioned it too, and we're in very early episodes here. So that's amazing that you brought it up again. So maybe we'll have to get Go High Level as a sponsor because they, we can bribe them. We can say, hey, all of my guests are mentioning your tool. But okay,
so some affiliate,
great examples. Yeah, exactly. Some affiliate, exactly. So guys, click the link below. Go High Level. Sign up through my link. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a link probably below, but if I do, definitely sign up through it. Okay, so the other one is, what is your favorite education material that you consume in order to be a better either human being or entrepreneur? Like, what are you currently consuming that's sort of and it could be podcasts, it could be books, it could be people, whatever it is that comes to mind.
Definitely the 2 podcasts, All In Podcast and My First Million. Reddit is a pretty big thing. I grew up with Reddit. That was my information. YouTube, of course. I think YouTube is way better than any university. I know YouTube for me is like gold mine. If you want to be billionaire,
especially recently, all these universities are becoming pretty toxic, man. But I tend to agree. I tend to agree. Yeah.
Like you have all this loan and Twitter. Basically, this is like how I get my most information. But in Twitter and Reddit, it depends which groups you are. Like our business, our entrepreneurship, our YouTube, our podcast. Like when it comes to Reddit, you just r/YouTube or not. And Reddit, I tend to follow other killers. Like some people I admire and respect. So that because Twitter is an amazing place where I get the newest information, the newest it's like a town hall for me. So definitely Twitter. Reddit,
is your list on Twitter public, Omar? Like, can people follow your list? Okay, so there's a bribe, guys. Go follow Omar on Twitter, and you can get his list of people that he follows if you want.
Yeah, you could probably
a shortcut. Yeah. What is your this is my last question for you is how do people best find you if they want to follow you, reach out, have a conversation, or just follow your journey? Where should they, or even hire you? Where should they find you?
Twitter, Ajruli X, or on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn because that's how I also work. They can just type my name, Omar Ajruli, And LinkedIn is where they can reach me. Twitter or LinkedIn, basically.
Perfect. And I'll add your links. But if you're listening to this, you can spell it OmarAjruli. And you can find him just by typing that in. You can find him on Twitter. You can find him on his YouTube channel. And you can also find his businesses. I'm sure he has links there for his if you're a lawyer, he can help you save money and also make money. So awesome. This has been a super fun conversation, Omar. Thanks a lot for doing this. And I think I got a lot of value out of just listening to you sort of share your knowledge and your insights. And we need to bring you back on in the future because I want to see as you progress, I want to see what things change and also what things you can share with with us as you keep going.
Yeah, thanks for having me a lot. And maybe next time I could come also with some shiny syndromes, shiny objects that we have been seeing. I know I love also talking about different ideas or shiny syndromes that we have seen. So thanks for having me. I know I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? What we could do, Omar. Just we're riffing here, but what we could do is maybe we can have a new episode where we could just do like half-baked ideas together, and you and I can riff on ideas that we like.
I definitely love it. And we can talk, and then maybe we can work because I think at some point I will be way more free, way more available. Especially if I hire like an operator, then I can focus on other ideas. Because I think my business at this point is pretty ripe. So, life is rich.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for doing this, and we'll see you on the other side.